This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 611. Welcome in. I want to start by giving a shout out to the listener named Jake. Jake, I love you, man. Jake actually came on the show, I don't know, not that long ago, and was talking about how, he had to drop out of high school to work to help his family. Now he's getting his high school diploma thing figured out. Now he's going to college for the first time. Really cool story. But anyway, he sent me a message. He's in broadcasting school now, which is already an incredible story. His broadcasting professor was like, yo, you got to warm up your voice. And he's like, Zach, I know that regularly you start the show and you're like, this is the first words I've said all day. And he was like, hey, you got to warm up your voice because my professor was telling me you will literally ruin your vocal cords if you don't warm up your voice. And I was like scared Pikachu face, oh no, that's horrifying. So I did what I could. These are not the first words I've said all day. I will say though, doing a process of trying to warm up my voice made me realize I have no idea what it means to warm up my voice. I have to actually probably research that, figure out what that looks like and what is a good, healthy way. I mean, Google has every answer you could possibly imagine, I am sure. So I'm sure if I Google ways to warm up your voice, I'll find something helpful. But I was like, oh yeah, I have no idea what that looks like or what I'm supposed to do there. But Jake, thank you for looking out. I love you, man. And I hope you're doing well. Let's start by sharing our wonderful, amazing sponsor. We love them. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks allows you to make an entry based on player projections, and in 60 seconds, you could enter something like George Kittle, less than 5 catches, A.J. Brown, more than 100 yards receiving, and Jordan Love, the Packers quarterback, throwing more than 2 interceptions. And if your picks are right, you can win money. Making picks makes watching games more engaging, and you can turn something like $5 into $50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. And they have weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts. For example, there's a weekly event called Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. By the way that works, I think if you put in $50, they will match that. They'll put $50 into your account as well. You put in $100, they'll do the same thing. Up to $50, they will match the amount you put into your Prize Picks account for making picks on Prize Picks. All right, let's talk about Thursday Night Football. On Thursday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills beat Tampa 24-18. And honestly, not going to lie to you, I do not have a lot to say here. It was a good win for Buffalo. They're now 5-3, but that's a game that you would expect Buffalo to win. They're a playoff team. Tampa's been up and down all year. I thought the better team won. Buffalo led 17-10 at halftime. Then the Bills got another touchdown to open the third quarter. That made it 24-10. And really the story here to me, the big story, is that Tampa's offense wasn't good enough. They could not respond and score a touchdown in the second half. They punted 3 drives in a row. Finally, with 2 minutes and 44 seconds left in the game, Tampa got a touchdown. That made it a 1-score game. After they got a 2-point conversion, it was 24-18. But frankly, it was just too little, too late. And, I thought the Buccaneers defense did a good job in the second half, keeping the game close, keeping it within striking distance. That game could have got away from Tampa very easily if they'd allowed Buffalo to score a lot of touchdowns in that second half. But for Tampa's defense to keep it, 1 to 2 score game in the second half, the problem was that Tampa's offense was not putting together enough drives to score points and make kind of a comeback. I was waiting and hoping and is Baker going to make something happen? And no, they did not. Now, one guy that I don't know is going to get talked about very much as, it's Friday night for me, so you'll hear this Saturday morning. I would imagine I'm very happily removed from sports media. I don't know what people say. I don't listen to shows. I really kind of actually hate the sports media. But there's a name that I don't know is going to get a lot of recognition that if you haven't heard this name, you should know it because this guy did a great job on Thursday Night Football. The Bills punter Sam Martin was amazing, actually. Like, I know your boy Zach, I don't talk about punters very often. I never go like, did you see the punter on Thursday Night Football? And I'm telling you now, this guy was incredible. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense had the ball 5 times in the second half. And they punted 3 times. They got that touchdown I talked about at the end of the fourth quarter, had this drive that was like way too long. Really, we're not in a hurry to, it's like they ignored the clock and had a great drive that scored a touchdown, sure, but Buffalo is happily letting them dink and dunk underneath all day and, run a bunch of clock off. And then finally, when Tampa got the ball for the 5th time with like 25 seconds left, they threw a Hail Mary and didn't get the Hail Mary, so they lost 24-18. But the 3 drives that are crucial for Tampa's offense were the 3 drives where they punted early in the second half, in the third quarter, then early in the fourth quarter. On those 3 drives where Tampa had to punt the ball away, they started really, really deep in their own territory. Bills punter Sam Martin, the unsung hero of Thursday Night Football, pinned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers inside the 10-yard line 3 times in a row. Tampa started these 3 drives on their 4-yard line, on their 3-yard line, and on their 8-yard line. Backed way up inside their own territory. It's hard to get a drive going. And so Sam Martin is the unsung hero for the Buffalo Bills from Thursday Night Football and their victory over Tampa. The dude put on a punting clinic. He was fantastic. So Tampa's now 3-4. It's a brutal loss for them because Tampa's now lost 3 games in a row. Remember, the Buccaneers started the year 3-1, had the lead in their division. That does no longer, they no longer have the lead in that division, the NFC South. And I do have to, unfortunately, acknowledge the bit of controversy. I hate talking about the refs. Let me be very clear. I watch football to talk about quarterbacks. I love watching the quarterback position. I think it's the most incredible thing in sports. I think the quarterback position is endlessly fascinating. It's fun. I love analyzing what teams could do better or worse to support their quarterbacks. That's what I like talking about. And I hate when I have to talk about NFL refs, but it seems like more and more that's the thing we have to talk about. There was a bit of controversy when Tampa threw a Hail Mary at the end of the game. It looked like there could have been a defensive pass interference called that was not called. And I don't know, man, there's so many plays like this recently where it feels like a call is getting made that's ridiculous and a bit egregious, or the flip side is where it feels like a call is not made and you're like, how can you possibly not call that pass interference? This was the latter, where it looked like Chris Godwin, frankly, it looked like a couple guys in the end zone that were receivers for Tampa got tackled basically before the ball arrived. And I don't know, man. I've got empathy for people who are upset when their team loses and it feels like you got screwed over. I do find it exhausting. There are so many plays to keep track of recently where things are happening left and right that people are upset about and want rectified. And I'm like, man, I can't. I personally don't want to make a show where all I do for an hour, a couple times a week, is just talk about all of the things the refs are doing wrong every single week. So I don't see myself, we got to write in about one on Patreon. We'll talk about, I guess, at the end of the show. But for the most part, I don't see myself covering heavily the refs the rest of the year. But I can acknowledge, I think I'm saying something that people want me to say, but it's also something I genuinely believe. And I'll say it once, and I'm not going to repeat it very often. The refs have been, insanely bad. And it does... I, myself, have always been the guy saying the league is not scripted, it's not fixed, yada, yada. There's a thing floating. I'm going to let it go. It's floating up now. It's out of my reach. Like a piece of dust or something. I myself have always been someone who makes fun of the idea that the NFL is scripted. That's not possible. But with the rise of sports gambling and with the really obvious missed calls this year that feel like they've been all-time bad, like really obvious, really silly that they haven't been called or have been called, I am starting to wonder about the integrity of the NFL. I don't like that, and I don't know if I'm becoming disenchanted with the NFL. I don't know what's happening here. It's a sport I love. It's a game I love. It's a league that I don't love the corporate side of, but I love football and I love the games. I think the NFL is the best product you can watch on the planet for football. Like, it's the highest quality football out there, easily and obviously. But I'm getting worn down by this conversation about the refs, and part of what I don't like about it is I agree with the people who are saying, hey, the refs have been terrible. I just don't know what to do about it. I agree. They've been like all-time bad, and it's been a couple years in a row now. And again, the worse the calls are, the more skeptical I feel about sports gambling becoming as, I guess perpetuated as it is. Is that the right word there? I don't know. As it's everywhere, sports gambling. And when you see really obvious calls that are missed, you go, does someone have money on a game that we don't know about? Is there a bigger thing happening here? I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but I will say, there are often things that seem insane and horrifying that are true. And it's not even insane or horrifying to say that, hey, maybe there are people within the NFL gambling on games and making a little bit of money on the side to miss a call here and there. That doesn't even feel like a crazy thing to say. In the scope of the insane things I've seen happen during my lifetime, I'm 26 years old, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, I thought that was insane, and that happened while I was alive. So the idea that maybe some refs are gambling on games doesn't feel far-fetched anymore. I'm going to leave that conversation right there. I don't want to have any more talks about it. I really don't, unless, I got to cover Monday Night Football, the Sunday night game, the Thursday night game. There are a couple primetime games every week you got to talk about. And if there's a really egregious call in a primetime game, I will talk about it. But for the most part, I really do not want to have a show centered around constantly talking about things that refs are doing wrong in football. I just do not want to make content about that. But I can acknowledge that the refs do feel like they are, frighteningly, irritatingly bad this year in the NFL. All right, I have a correction to make. I want to read a write-in from Gabe. Gabe writes in, Gabe says, "Hey, Zach, been following the show for many years now, so keep up the great work. Full disclosure, I am an Eagles fan, so this tiny thing probably bothered me more than others, LOL. But you mentioned several times last week that Jalen Hurts had 7 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. Then on today's show, you updated it with 9 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns after the Miami game. He says, I'm not sure where those stats are coming from, but he has 6 rushing touchdowns on the year, 15 total touchdowns on the season, and 8 interceptions, which is still not great. So thank you for writing in, Gabe. I appreciate you keeping me honest. I never intentionally ever give anyone incorrect information. I definitely did here. That was not my goal. I have no idea how I was so far off on the numbers for Jalen Hurts. I really rushing touchdowns. I don't know how that happened, but let's correct the record here. These are the official numbers. I don't know how this happened. I think I might have been looking at the wrong column or something. Literally, it's that simple. You look at the wrong number and you say the wrong thing. I think I did it twice though, which is very weird. Again, I don't know how it's possible. Maybe the website I was looking at, the stat website I was looking at wasn't updated. I really don't know. But in case you somehow aren't sure, Jalen Hurts has 15 touchdowns on the year. He's thrown for 9. He's run for 6. He also has 8 interceptions and a fumble this year. So I think it's really good to correct the record. Let me verify the fumble. The fumble amount feels low. I did verify it earlier, but I want to just, while we're recording, it's a great opportunity to sit down, double check everything, because I really do not want to be wrong. I hate giving people false, inaccurate information. That's never my goal. If I do that, it's always an accident. So yeah, I am reading here. He's got 1 lost fumble this year, Jalen Hurts. So 6 rushing touchdowns, 9 passing touchdowns. That's 15 total touchdowns on the year. 8 interceptions and a fumble. So 15 touchdowns, 9 turnovers. Still way too many turnovers for Jalen Hurts, but they're 6-1. Doesn't appear to be hurting the Eagles season a ton this year. But we have now corrected the record. Gabe, I love you. Thank you, man. I appreciate you keeping me honest. And please understand that I try to approach this weird thing I do with humility, right? I'm one man doing the best I can, and I get stuff wrong from time to time. And I don't mean to. It's not intentional. I try my hardest, man. I work really, really hard. I do a lot of preparation. I do a lot of work behind the scenes. I think that people don't even see. But when I'm wrong, I try to point it out. And I hope that's a thing that people appreciate rather than hate me for. One of my core values, whether it's sports or life or whatever, is that you have to be willing to and able to admit when you're wrong. And so that's something, little detail I got wrong that I hope that has now been corrected moving forward. All right, I want to look ahead to this weekend in the NFL. It's going to be NFL Week 8 this weekend. It already started on Thursday Night Football, but I am really, really interested in the Green Bay Packers-Minnesota Vikings game on Sunday. Minnesota is 3-4, and I think the Vikings have a good shot at actually making the playoffs this year, despite their bad record, despite the ugly start they had. Now, I will say, if the Vikings are going to do that, if they're going to kind of recover their season, they got to win a game like this against Green Bay. The Packers are 2-4. Green Bay just lost an ugly game last weekend to Denver. And Packers quarterback Jordan Love has been, frankly, very underwhelming. So I watched the film, by the way, from that Denver Packers game. I thought maybe I was going to get a segment out of it. And it was just kind of bad. I'm like, I don't know what to say here. Like, Jordan Love has not been very sharp mentally. There's a lot of little mental mistakes on third down. There was a throw that really stood out to me where Jordan Love threw the ball out on an out-breaking route, and Christian Watson, the receiver, ran back inside. I thought Christian Watson, the young receiver, read the coverage wrong. It was very obvious. Just go outside, take the release outside, don't fight back inside. That was an incompletion on third down. Like, there are little things like that are killing the Packers offense. I wouldn't panic. I don't think the Packers are... I think a lot of people look at Jordan Love and see that he's underwhelming and are ready to discard him and say he's terrible. I don't see that when I watch Jordan Love. I see a guy who's talented and capable, but mentally has a long way to go before he's an NFL veteran. You know what I mean? Like, there are still many, many little things that are hurting Jordan Love. But also, his receivers are young and still learning how to run routes at an NFL level where against zone coverage, you find green grass. You don't just, it's not high school football anymore. It's not college football anymore where you run the route that's called on the little play sheet. No, every route is a bit negotiable, and you have to adjust on the fly when running routes in the NFL based on the coverage you're running the route against. And guys like Christian Watson, who was injured earlier in the year, Christian Watson has not been good at that this year, at adjusting routes. That's something that Puka Nacua, the rookie receiver in LA for the Rams, has done incredibly. And that's part of why Puka Nacua has had like a historic year as a rookie receiver. So either way, I think the Vikings have a really good shot to beat Green Bay on Sunday. The Packers look vulnerable. I do think the Packers could challenge them. Like, the Packers are kind of a wild card here where Green Bay, like, Jordan Love at his best is really good, but he's very hit or miss because mentally he's just not where he needs to be yet as a professional quarterback. But he's on his way. I don't feel like hitting the panic button yet in Green Bay, but I believe the Vikings have a really good shot to win on Sunday, and that would give them a 4-4 start to the year and really put them well on their way to recovering their season after kind of an ugly start. Now, the New England Patriots play Miami on Sunday. I cannot wait to watch the Patriots offense on Sunday. I thought that finally, the Patriots offense had a good game on Sunday last week against Buffalo. And I think that it's reasonable to believe, hey, maybe it just took New England 7 games before things kind of clicked and they started, firing on all cylinders and finally playing well on offense. Maybe it took them a while to gel. That's very likely. So we shall see. The story here is that Miami's 5-2. They're really good. They're definitely the favorite to win this football game. But the question is, the fun thing about this game between Miami and New England is, how does the Patriots offense do in this game? And all eyes, I think if the Patriots lose, but they lose like 38-41, and Mac Jones has a great game, I can handle that. All I want from this game, I don't care if the Patriots win. I just want their offense to look competent and score a lot of points and look good. And whether they win or lose this football game, if Mac Jones, the Patriots quarterback, has a good game, that's a successful week for the New England Patriots against a Miami team that, to me, is one of the Super Bowl favorites in the NFL this year. Sunday Night Football is a weird game. It's a primetime game, but you've got the 2-5 Bears against the 2-4 LA Chargers. My roommate's a Bears fan. She probably doesn't even know that that's not true. She's very tuned into Chicago. She probably knows her team is on Sunday night. But if she doesn't, I'm excited to tell her, hey, in case you forgot or lost track of time, this is a time that your favorite team is on primetime football Sunday night. That'll be great for her. She'll be excited about that. But unfortunately, Chicago will not have their starting quarterback, Justin Fields, on Sunday. So what we will get to see is Bears rookie quarterback Tyson Bagent. He will make his second ever NFL start. He won last week against the Raiders in his first ever NFL start. And he's a cool story, man. He's a quarterback out of Shepherd, a Division II college in, I believe, West Virginia. Is that true? I think, where is Shepherd? Let's look it up. Shepherd University, Shepherdstown, West Virginia. So, got it right. I watched a film last week of the Bears-Raiders. It was a Raiders game, Bears-Raiders game. I'm not going to lie to you, Tyson Bagent didn't do much of anything. I thought maybe we'd get a cool segment breaking down the film there. I watched the film. There wasn't much to talk about, frankly, other than this. This is really, you want the film breakdown? Let's do it right now. Tyson Bagent didn't do a lot because Chicago had very, very conservative play calling. Tyson Bagent threw a ton of screen passes, like screen after screen after screen. They really didn't throw the ball downfield very much at all. Like, Chicago threw the ball 29 times for 162 yards. They ran the ball 38 times for 173 yards. So they ran the ball more than they threw. They ran for more yards than they threw. They heavily leaned on their running game. Their running back, I believe, was the highest scoring fantasy running back in football last week. They ran the ball. They threw screen passes. That kind of strategy on offense is not going to work for Chicago this week on Sunday night against LA Chargers. You got to come out throwing the football. And I understand that Tyson Bagent is a really cool story. Former Division II quarterback who, as a rookie quarterback, making his first ever NFL start, wins a game. That's a cool story. But my question is that all that Tyson Bagent is? Is he just a cool story? Or is he actually a capable quarterback? Because we're going to find out very quickly in front of, he's playing in front of millions of people on Sunday night. Primetime game. And I'm not saying that Tyson Bagent is bad. It's very possible he has a great game. What I'm saying is there's no way to know right now because Chicago didn't ask him to do anything on Sunday. Like, on third down, they were running the football and calling screen passes. Third and long, third and medium, 3rd and 7. You call a screen pass? That tells me you don't trust your quarterback to read a defense very well and get the ball where it needs to go. So the fact that on 3rd and 7, the Bears were calling screen passes last week is a big red flag to me that goes, oh, they don't trust their young quarterback, Tyson Bagent. I saw people saying that Tyson Bagent is a better quarterback than Justin Fields. And I'm like, did we watch the same game? Tyson Bagent wasn't bad, but he was neutral. He didn't do much. They were very conservative. And so I have very low expectations for Tyson Bagent on Sunday against the Chargers, but I'm hopeful. Seems like an awesome dude. Like, great story, great kid. Has a good arm. He's not like Rex Grossman back in the day who could barely throw the football beyond, 15 yards. He's got a big arm and stuff. I just wonder, someone's going to hate on me for that, I'm sure. So there's some Bears fan out there who's like, I loved Rex Grossman. He was the best. Shut up. I don't care. I do like a little bit care, but I don't want to have that conversation. What I'm saying is I don't have high hopes for Tyson Bagent on Sunday, but we'll see what happens. I would love to see him do well. I just don't have any reason to believe he will, given what I watched on film last week against the Raiders. All right, Monday Night Football is going to be really fun. It's the Raiders at Detroit, and the Lions are 5-2. I'm excited to have Detroit play in a primetime moment where there's going to be a lot of people watching. They're going to be the conversation of the day. Monday Night Football. I very much expect Detroit to win here. They're playing at home. Detroit's also coming off of a horrible game last week where they lost 38-6 to Baltimore. So on top of that, the Raiders are garbage. I think it's going to be a fun night. Monday night's going to be a fun opportunity to celebrate and enjoy the Detroit Lions football team. They're going to win. I think it's going to be awesome. I would be absolutely shocked if the Raiders went on the road to Detroit and found a way to beat the Detroit Lions at Ford Field on Monday Night Football. That's just not going to happen. And so I look forward to, I've already kind of set my calendar, can't wait to talk about the Lions on Tuesday and have fun, excitedly sharing about the good things that happened for them on Monday Night Football. Houston plays Carolina this weekend. It's going to be a battle of two rookie quarterbacks. You've got Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick, and C.J. Stroud, the number 2 overall draft pick in Houston. Carolina's 0-6. They've been awful this year. Houston is 3-3. They've been surprisingly good, actually. And C.J. Stroud has been absolutely fantastic. The young quarterback in Houston. Bryce Young, Carolina's young quarterback, has been underwhelming, trying to be nice. I liked what Panthers head coach Frank Reich said. He said that we judge young quarterbacks in years, not weeks, and you can't really determine a whole guy's future off of 6 weeks of NFL football, 6 games of NFL football. I guess, yeah. So I still think what we're going to see on Sunday is C.J. Stroud outshining Bryce Young. And there's going to be, for sure, a conversation on Twitter and the next day, the Monday shows. Look at how good C.J. Stroud is. Bryce Young is bad. They drafted the wrong guy. I can already see that coming. And I want to tell you now, that's a dumb conversation. I don't want to have it. It's nonsense. We're too early in a guy's career to call him a bust. It just, you can't. Sorry. No, you can't do that. Remember, RG3 was like a Hall of Fame quarterback after his rookie year. And then he's broadcasting and saying wild out-of-pocket stuff on ESPN every week now, right? He didn't work. He didn't last. So you can't overreact too early during a young quarterback's career, and I'm not here for it. But I want to tell you now, Monday morning, there are going to be people saying, look at how much better C.J. Stroud is than Bryce Young. Looks like Carolina drafted the wrong guy. No, get out of here, man. It's too early. What would be interesting and surprising, frankly, is if, Frank Reich, I don't know how that popped in my head. That's so dumb. I would be surprised if Bryce Young outplayed C.J. Stroud, but that would be interesting and would provide a wrinkle where at least that conversation wouldn't be able to be had on Monday. It'd be hacky and weird. It's hacky and weird anyway, but that's definitely, I would like to see Bryce Young win simply so people have to pause before they call Bryce Young a bust. That would be awesome. But I don't have any hope of that happening on Sunday. The Rams play Dallas on Sunday. The Cowboys have to win this football game. The Dallas Cowboys are 4-2. You realize the difference between 5-2 and 4-3 is wild. 5-2, you're a good team. That's a easy playoff team, and the expectation emotionally is way higher. If the Dallas Cowboys fall to 4-3 and lose to the Rams, who've got rookie players everywhere and some talent, sure, but you can't. This is a must-win game for the Dallas Cowboys, and if the Cowboys want to be taken seriously as a contender in the NFL this year, this is the kind of game they need to win. Atlanta plays Tennessee on Sunday. The Falcons are the much better team. It's kind of cool. Arthur Smith, the Falcons head coach, is playing his former team, Tennessee. He was the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans before going to be the head coach in Atlanta. And even with a suspect young quarterback, Desmond Ridder, Atlanta should win this game with no problem. In fact, if Atlanta does lose this game, you got to be hitting the panic button in Atlanta. Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill will not be playing. Tennessee's 2-4 even with him anyway. So I think all the pressure is on Atlanta here. And what's interesting about this game to me, the number one thing to watch for, frankly, is Tennessee is expected to play 2 quarterbacks. They drafted 2 years ago Malik Willis. This year they drafted in the second round Will Levis. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's better. I don't know they're going to look like. But if you want to watch, I don't know if they're going to be good, but if you want to watch young quarterbacks show what they can do, good or bad, you get to watch Malik Willis and Will Levis on Sunday against Atlanta for Tennessee. And that'll be, I think, very interesting, if nothing else, on Sunday. New Orleans is playing at Indy, Both teams are 3-4. I have no idea who's going to win between Indy and New Orleans, which is kind of a problem because during the preseason, I would have been very confident that the Saints are a better team and should win. But the Saints have been so inconsistent. Despite how good they are on paper, I've been waiting, and their offensive coaching has been frustrating. Like, the receivers are making horrible decisions running routes. They're not finding space in zone. They're not on the same page as Derek Carr. They're cutting routes short. So I don't know what to expect from New Orleans on offense, especially. I will say, not that you care, but my fantasy football quarterback this week is going to be Derek Carr. So I'm hoping that I hope Derek Carr is a great game. What I am excited to watch on Sunday, I'm not excited to watch Derek Carr, by the way, even though I'm rooting for him because I want to win my league. I'm excited to watch Gardner Minshew, the Colts quarterback. He is awesome. He is not the best quarterback in the NFL at all, but I always have fun watching him. I've loved him ever since college, and if you want something to root for on Sunday, watch Gardner Minshew play against New Orleans and have just a fun time watching this crazy, wild, young personality of Gardner Minshew just be on full display of him playing football and playing with heart, playing scrappy. I love Gardner Minshew so much, and I'm going to enjoy watching him on Sunday. The Jets are playing the Giants. It's the Battle of New York. And Giants quarterback Daniel Jones will be out again. He's got a neck injury. He's still not going to play. So we'll be Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback for the Giants. I expect the Jets to win. If the Jets win, they would be 4-3, and that would help keep their playoff hopes alive. So I kind of quietly am rooting for the Jets here. I want to see. I think it'd be fun if the Jets are in the mix and kind of the playoff hunt come week 16, 17, 18, and then maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back for a playoff run. Like, that's what I want to see happen to the Jets. And if that's going to happen, you got to beat a terrible team like the New York Giants on Sunday if you're the Jets. The Jaguars are playing Pittsburgh. This is kind of a sneaky good game where both teams only have 2 losses. The fun matchup is going to be Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars offense against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I watched that Steelers-Rams game last week. I remain skeptical about Kenny Pickett, the Steelers' young quarterback. People were telling me, I was getting messages from people saying, like, dude, Kenny Pickett looked so good in the second half of that game for Pittsburgh. And maybe because people said that to me, it put my expectations too high. I don't know what I expected, but I watched the film and was like, okay, like what do you see that I don't see? Because pre-snap, Kenny Pickett is not making great decisions when it comes to adjusting the protection. He's not recognizing blitzing defenders pre-snap. It's a problem. I will say, like, he is getting better at. He's throwing more back shoulder fades to George Pickens. That's fun. Like, that connection, the George Pickens-Kenny Pickett connection is getting better and kind of heating up as the year goes on. But I don't feel any sense of excitement about Kenny Pickett. All I really fear is this overwhelming dread that he might be the wrong quarterback. And he hasn't done anything to make me feel confident in him. I thought, in fact, I was hoping that watching that Rams game from Sunday, the film of that, was going to make me go, oh, he's turning a corner. Kenny Pickett looks better, but I didn't feel that way. And I am very nervous that they got the wrong quarterback in Pittsburgh and they invested a lot in a guy that, at least I didn't give him what did the Browns give Deshaun Watson? Way too much money. It's hilarious. At least they didn't do that. But I'm not sure that Kenny Pickett's the right quarterback long-term in Pittsburgh. But I remain open-minded and always am willing to change my mind. The thing to watch when you watch Pittsburgh, though, is TJ Watt. If you're going to watch this game on Sunday, dude, enjoy the hell out of watching TJ Watt. He is so dang good. Frankly, TJ Watt should be the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. I watched that Rams game. He had an interception last week that set up the Steelers offense first and goal. Basically created a touchdown opportunity for Pittsburgh by himself. Oh yeah, by the way, he's second in the NFL in sacks with 8 sacks this year. It's crazy, man. If you're going to watch this game between the Steelers and the Jaguars, make sure you take a moment and just appreciate how lucky you are to watch TJ Watt in his prime. There are so many players that come and go, and we don't know how long TJ Watt's going to be playing at this level for a long time. or we don't know how long he's going to be playing at the level he's at right now. Could be 10 more years. It could be 3. So just appreciate what you got while you have it, whether you're rooting for the Jaguars or not. Make sure you understand you're getting to watch a really, really incredible player on defense, TJ Watt, and just enjoy the spectacle. Philly plays Washington. The Eagles are the much better team. Philadelphia is 6-1. I think they're likely going to be 7-1 after this game. There's not much more to say, honestly. I would be completely shocked if Washington beat Philly. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see them challenge Philadelphia. I think that's maybe the question of this game is, can Washington even challenge Philadelphia? Forget beating them. Maybe they win. That'd be cool. I'm not against that. I'm skeptical of that happening. But really the question is, can Washington even hang with Philly straight up? Like, that's a real concern to me, is that this game could be a blowout. So that's the story to me. Can Washington hang around and keep up with Philly on Sunday? Cleveland plays at Seattle. So the Cleveland Browns play the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson is not going to play. He's out again with an injury. So, Cleveland, they've won the last 2 weeks without Deshaun Watson. He played, 5 snaps through 5 passes last week. They still found a way to win. I think Cleveland's offense is going to be okay. What's going to be really fun is watching Seattle's offense against the Cleveland Browns defense. The Browns defense is the best in the NFL. Like, categorically, they're just incredible. They generate a ton of turnovers. They are limiting teams from scoring. And so I think it's a fun matchup. Seattle's got a shot to win for sure, especially, here's a fun question. Is it more or less likely that Seattle's going to win without Deshaun Watson? Like, Deshaun Watson, when he has played this year, has been awful. So, Seattle might actually be hoping Deshaun Watson magically does get healthy and decides to play because he's been so bad this year. I don't know. But the Seahawks defense, they're really good. They got some good players too. I think this game, Seattle against Cleveland, is a really good, really interesting game, and it would be a really big win for Seattle. Kansas City plays Denver, which, Kansas City's won 16 games in a row against the Denver Broncos. I see no reason for that streak to end this year. In fact, if Denver won, I would be shocked. Did you know only one time this year has Kansas City's defense allowed a team to score more than 20 points? They allowed 21 points to Detroit week 1. They lost 21-20. So Kansas City's defense is really, really good. Denver's defense, has Denver scored? I think they scored more than that against. They scored more than 20 against Chicago, right? Let's look at the Broncos' schedule this year. What have they done so far this year? They scored 33 against Washington, 28 against 31 against Chicago. No, did they lose? No, they beat Chicago. Okay, yep. So, they've scored more than 21 a couple times. They scored more than 21 against the Jets, Washington, and Chicago. I don't know. I have no hope that the Denver Broncos can beat Kansas City on Sunday. I would be shocked if that happened. I think we're going to see Kansas City beat Denver for a 17th straight time on Sunday. Baltimore plays Arizona. The Baltimore Ravens just had a dominating win over Detroit last week, 38-6. And what's cool about that game was the Ravens' offense was just absolutely incredible. They looked unstoppable. The question is, can they keep it up? Can Baltimore, the Ravens' offense, can it look that good again a second week in a row? I want that to be the new standard in Baltimore, where they score a ton of points, they make it look easy, they're shredding people, they've got receivers open who are making big plays, Lamar Jackson is extending plays and doing great stuff. That's what I want to be the standard in Baltimore, because they got a new offensive coordinator. They're trying to throw the ball more. They're trying to evolve their offense. I think it's working. I thought we saw that finally work really well last week. But Sunday, we're going to find out, is that, in fact, the new standard operating procedure for Baltimore? Or was that just a fluky game where they looked really good because Detroit had a bad day? We'll find out on Sunday. Finally, the last game we haven't talked about yet. Cincinnati plays the 49ers on Sunday. Currently, it is unclear whether or not 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy is going to play. He's listed as questionable on the injury report. He's in concussion protocol. It's possible for him to pass concussion protocol in time to play this weekend. Honestly, though, I'm kind of hoping Brock Purdy doesn't play on Sunday because I'm really curious to watch the 49ers backup quarterback, Sam Darnold. Everybody always tells me how overrated Brock Purdy is and how he only does well because of all the great players around him. Well, with that logic, that would mean that if Sam Darnold does play, he should do very, very well. Because if any quarterback can play in this offense, Sam Darnold should be great. So that's what I want to see Sam Darnold. I want to end that conversation. One way or the other, I want to get it over with. And I've never, ever in my life seen Sam Darnold play in the NFL with great players around him. I watched him in the Jets system. I watched him in Carolina. I've never, ever seen Sam Darnold play with the quality of people they have around him in San Francisco. And I want to see him throw to Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey. That sounds like a lot of fun. I think Deebo Samuel's healthy this week. So, man, it's like a fun science experiment. I kind of want Brock Purdy to be concussed. That's a terrible thing to say out loud. Please don't clip me out. I kind of want Brock Purdy to not play simply so that I can run this little science experiment and see how good Sam Darnold is. And, can any quarterback run this offense? Can any quarterback look good playing for the 49ers? I want to find out. And if Brock Purdy does play, there will be part of me that's disappointed going like, we missed an opportunity to learn something interesting on Sunday. Now, Cincinnati's a good challenger. I know the 49ers are really good. I know they've lost 2 in a row. The Bengals have won 2 in a row. And the Bengals are 3-3. They're recovering after kind of a bad start to the year. They still have star players, and I think this game potentially could be really fun and really, really interesting on Sunday. All right. By the way, how many times did I say on Sunday? Just like that segment. My bad. We'll cut that. Next week, we will not do that. I'll be very intentional to never say the word Sunday on my preview for the weekend topic. It's time for Fun Friday, though. I'm recording this on a Friday evening. It's 5 p.m. Hawaii time. So it's already 11 p.m. on the East Coast. So you will not hear this until Saturday. So it's Fun Friday on a Saturday. It is what it is. I've been behind all week. Last week I asked you to send in your best and or your worst first date ideas. I am single, but I swear to you, they were unrelated. I didn't even realize the connection. I don't need first date ideas, but as I've been talking to my friends about first date ideas, it's been this is kind of a fun topic to talk about. And so Colin's got the first submission today. He says, this isn't a personal story, but I'm not sure how going to the movies became a great first date. You can't learn anything about each other since it's silent, let alone you can't even see each other because it's dark. Just an awkward 2 hours of trying to figure out when to hold hands. I gotta say, Colin, thank you so much for saying everything I wanted to say in this segment. Yes, a movie is a terrible, terrible first date. If nothing else, if the point of the segment is to educate young men out there, I am begging you, do not take a woman on a movie date for your first date. Do not do that. That is a terrible, terrible date. Also, if you don't go to dinner first, can you imagine this scenario? You go to a movie, you meet a woman for the first time at a movie theater, and you don't talk to each other. I mean, you're awkwardly in line, kind of having small talk. Movie starts, and then the entire movie, you're like, when are we going to hold hands? Why would you want to hold hands with someone you barely know? Don't get me wrong. I've done a lot of crazy stuff with women I barely know. It's horrifying. Horrifying. I should not have admitted that on the internet. That's going to live with me forever. But no, if you're really trying to have a good first date, man, a movie, look, Netflix and chill is all fun and games, man. I've done that a lot. But if you're actually trying to date them, do not take them to a movie. Don't watch a movie on your first date. Do something where you can sit down and talk and have a conversation. And maybe not a dark room where you can't even look at each other. So, Colin, thank you so much for writing that in. That was my number one topic of what I wanted to say doing this segment, and you hit the nail right on the head. Logan writes in, said, worst date I can think of would be surprising your +1 with a dinner with your extended family. Maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner. As little sense as it would be to have a first date then. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I will say, I remember when I was engaged, not even when I was engaged, the person I was engaged to, the first time she met my dad, she came over to hang out, and I was like, hey, you want to go to dinner with my dad and my stepmom? And it was very impromptu. She's like, I guess. And then it just happened. There was no planning, no preparation, no lead up. that was kind of fun and impromptu, but I wouldn't recommend that. I would definitely, I was very clear. We don't have to go. We can go if we want. She was down. She was cool. Yeah, man, first date, meeting the family. I could see that being interesting in the right setting, but it would have to be an accident and it would have to be impromptu. You could never plan that. And Christmas, Thanksgiving, first date, what do you do? No, you're right, Logan. That's a horrifying thought. Logan does continue. He says, the best first date isn't specific, but make sure it's something you enjoy too. If you end up hating the activity, her mood will rub off and it may not go well. If you love it and they do too, boom, there is a shared hobby or activity to build off of. Yeah, that's what you do during the early planning stage of a first date. Like, I love hiking. I have learned though, I'm like an extreme hiker. I like the 8-mile hikes that are like 4,000 feet of elevation, straight up a mountain. Like you're climbing up and down ropes and up the cliff, rock wall faces and stuff. Most women don't want to do that kind of hiking, so I have to be very careful when I plan a hike. Hey, simple, casual, 2 miles, little minimal elevation gain, because I just hike like a madman. But the rare time when I meet a woman who does like that kind of hiking and is like, yeah, let's get muddy and like almost kill ourselves, I'm like, you're cool, you can hang, and I want to go on a second date. So you're right. I don't know. An activity you enjoy is always good, but make sure that you're doing it in a, I don't know. You're right. It's just finding common ground with your date. It's always interesting. Ben Barnes writes in. Ben Barnes, I think, is this the actor from Prince Caspian? And the same actor like the T-Mobile commercials with Patrick Mahomes, like where he like snaps in the ball and is wearing that pink suit. Ben Barnes, thanks for writing in. Ben Barnes says, hey, Zach, well, I've been in one relationship for most of my adult life and therefore haven't had many first dates. I think an ideal first date would be something super relaxed and casual. I'm an introvert, and if I'm with the right person, I just want to go out for a nice meal and then have a cozy night in, away from people, just the two of us. Just the two of us. So many of my favorite date nights with my fiance have been nights like this. They just seem the most relaxed and intimate. I would push back, Ben. First of all, I've had first dates that end up back at my place. Let's be real. But I don't think you should suggest a night in away from other people the first time you hang out. I think guys, we often don't realize that women are feel like they're in danger when they meet a man. Like when you suggest a first date, do it somewhere public where other people are like a witness so that they can feel comfortable and relaxed. You listening, you're probably not going to hurt women. I'm certainly not. But I am always aware when I plan a first date, like make sure I plan it somewhere with lots of people around so that the woman can feel comfortable knowing she's meeting me in public. Because I think I don't think about this. Like I go for walks like at 3 a.m. all the time. I have headphones. I'm an idiot. Like I could get hit in the back of the head and totally get robbed and have no idea. But I don't even think about it. I feel safe. A lot of women don't feel safe when they plan a first date. You shouldn't suggest something that is just the two of us, away from public people, because you want the woman to feel comfortable and relaxed. And maybe you have dinner at a restaurant, and they're like, yeah, this guy's cool enough. I'll go back to your place or we can go back to my place, whatever. Sure. But do not, if you're planning a first date, make sure you're planning to do it somewhere public so the woman can relax and not feel in danger and a little on edge the entire time. Also, like, I live in Hawaii, so you can't drive very far into the mountains. I would actually argue, and I would contend that hiking is kind of a rough first date because, again, serial killer vibes, man. Like, yeah, how about a stranger I don't know? We drive 3 hours into the woods in the mountains, totally alone. That's a great idea for meeting a man for the first time. You realize we got it, guys. As dudes, when we plan first dates, coffee, go to a restaurant, do something in public. Do not suggest something where it's just you one-on-one and she could feel potentially compromised. Like, hey, is my safety at risk? Don't put that down in her head. Don't do that. Just meet at a coffee shop where there's lots of people around and she can relax. That's all I'm saying. This guy writes in, he says, I think who the date is with has as much or more bearing on how well it goes than what you do. You could do the best thing in the world, but unless it's with the right person, I don't reckon it'd be a hit. I think that's insightful. I like that. The person you're with matters. So that's why you got to go on a lot of first dates. You got to go until you find the right person to gel with. Don't be afraid to be like, this isn't working. Next. This guy writes in, this one's wild. This guy is creatively imagining the worst possible first date scenario you possibly could. This guy says, so you go to McDonald's and specifically telling her that you don't have enough money to pay for her meal, and then buy more than enough food for you, which is enough to buy her meal too, and eat it in front of her, being oblivious of how rude you are. I don't know. This guy wrote this on the YouTube channel. I have no idea who thought of this. I don't know. I guess I prompted some guy to sit at home and be like, what's the worst thing I could do on a first date? Tell someone I don't have money to pay for them, but clearly I do. I'm just being a douche nozzle. And then eat it in front of her and pretend you have no idea. It's all bad, man. It's so uncomfortable and awkward. So yeah, you created the worst possible first date scenario I can imagine. I don't know if I should celebrate that, but don't do that. Whatever I just said, don't do what I just said. The thing about the McDonald's thing, I don't know. I don't want to get in the conversation of who should pay and not. I always try to pay on the first date. I think that's good. I think you should do that. That's just me. I don't mind when the woman wants to split it. That's cool too. But be chivalrous, guys. Be respectful. Be kind. Question of the week for next week. Straight up, I just need help for this one. The next one, I want you to write in. I need you to know, I go to bed every night at like 10 o'clock. And I lay in bed from 10 o'clock to like 1, 2 a.m. sometimes. I just sit there in my bed looking, and I'm not on my phone. I even have a sleeping mask I often put on. I am trying to go to sleep, and I can't turn my brain off. So if you guys have any advice for falling asleep quickly, tell me, what is your strategy for falling asleep quickly? I'd love to hear from you guys. That's the topic for next week, for Fun Friday, Fun Saturday, whatever you want to call it. What is your strategy for falling asleep quickly when you go to bed at night? All right, let's end the show with questions from Patreon. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's $1 a month. You can donate more if you want to. Please do. It literally pays my rent. And you want this show to keep going, I'm telling you right now, you got to support the show on Patreon. Like, if you want this to continue and you like this content, support it on Patreon. Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. I do not guarantee to read your question on the show. My only guarantee is I look at every single question with my eyeballs and I pick the top couple to read on the show. And we got a couple here today. Optimistic Cyclones fan writes in and says, hey, Zach, it was reported this week that Caleb Williams wants a mandatory, I think you mean minor ownership stake in whatever team drafts him. To me, that just seems very arrogant and cocky. I get that he's an elite player, but there's a reason no player has ever been allowed to have ownership in a franchise while actively playing. Do you think this is a red flag? Is he going too far? Or is he just trying to influence who drafts him? Cyclones fan, you got to realize, this to me is him very obviously bluffing and trying to keep certain teams away from him, trying to scare teams away, basically. Also, you realize Caleb Williams didn't say that. It's a rumor. It's a thing that we've been told Caleb Williams has said. It's he said, she said. We don't know what Caleb Williams feels. Also, let's be very clear. It's literally not possible for Caleb Williams to have ownership while actively playing in the NFL. You can't do that. Literally, it's not allowed for NFL employees to own part of the team they work for. That was a thing the NFL specifically made a rule change to not allow because it was believed that the fear from the NFL was that you could use that as a bargaining chip when hiring people. Like, if you want to hire the GM of the Eagles, who's incredible at his job, you say, well, hey, we know the Arizona Cardinals, we're terrible, but what if we give you like an ownership stake in our franchise? Is that the thing that could pull Howie Roseman out of Philly and make him the GM in Arizona? People are like, let's not allow that. If you work for the NFL, you cannot also own a minority stake in the team you work for. That's literally not allowed. So Caleb Williams is never going to do that. It's not even possible. I'd also like to say, this is a bit out of left field, but I would like to see Caleb Williams stay in college next year. He's going to make a lot of money. He's a superstar. I feel like Caleb Williams has unfinished business. I was thinking about this a lot. He's never beat Utah, ever. I want to see Caleb Williams play Utah one more time. Simply as a fan, I think it's entertaining. It'll be fun to watch next year in college football. But on top of that, like, I think if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm like, dude, I don't want to go to Chicago or Arizona. I'm going to make money by staying in college. And again, the word is unfinished business. I want to beat Utah. That's how I would feel straight up if I was Caleb Williams. And I think he might stay in college, and I kind of want to see that. I think that'd be fun and interesting. Jeffrey writes in. Jeffrey says, "Hello, Zach and your eyeballs. I totally agree with your comments on Prime Vision. Remember, I love Prime Vision. Prime Vision is absolutely amazing." Jeffrey continues and says, "As an avid fan, it's my favorite way to watch the game. My question is, with the seemingly positive reaction of the Prime Vision broadcast, along with things like the Manning cast being so successful, do you think there's a future where the traditional way of watching games goes to the wayside and more of an emphasis is put on a more analytical film study way of watching the game live? We'll love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks as always." Jeffrey, I don't love that you suggest that analytics and watching film, you kind of conflate them as the same thing. Those are not the same thing. I very much strongly do not believe I'm an analytics guy. I absolutely kind of hate analytics. I think they're annoying and ruin football and are... Gosh, Sam Schwartzstein is such a nerd. I don't care, dude. I don't want to hear about... How do you... The percentages they throw out, these analytics guys, that catch at a 59.7% likelihood of being caught. Based on what? How are you calculating that percentage? What the hell are you talking about? That given receiver against that given defender, twisting his body that certain way. How can you calculate that? Get the heck out of here. That's nonsense. I hate that. The analytics thing in football is getting... Like, there's a time and place. I don't want to be the scout in Moneyball that's like, I don't know what do you mean? We're trying to replace Giambi, Billy. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but I definitely hate, I think the analytics thing is getting pretty nerdy and irritating. Like, hey, you got to know football. I don't want to hear how to coach football from a guy who's only ever looked at spreadsheets his entire life. I don't want that. That's not the football I want to watch. That's not the football I want to talk about. Get the hell out of here. No way. So they're very different. Analytics and film are not the same thing. You can't conflate them. I think a really good way to use analytics is to augment what you see on film. I think friend of the show, Brett Coleman. I don't watch his content really at all. I don't watch anyone's content. But the things I've seen him do, Brett Coleman is the best in the world at taking advanced analytics and making it part of his film analysis. Like incorporating them and making them work together. Brett Coleman he's so dang good at his job. I love the guy. And I think that that's the right way to use analytics. But you can't just throw out numbers and go, oh, percentages. Like, no. You have to find a way to make the analytics you're sharing work together with what you're seeing on film. And Brett does that very, very well. Here's what I will say. I love the idea of fans being more educated. When you watch football, and it'd be cool if we were able to see the coverage. It's like the thing about Prime Vision that's amazing. It's literally zoomed out. You see all 22 players on the field at the same time, so you can very clearly see the coverages pre-snap. Is that cover 6? Is that cover 4? Man coverage, zone coverage? Is that linebacker creeping? Is he going to blitz? Is that safety walking down pre-snap to maybe play the run or maybe come out for the quarterback and blitz? It's amazing. Like, I want to watch every football game that way. I actually, after watching Prime Vision, I get absolutely irritated on Sundays when I can't watch football that way. Like, I'm watching like CBS and Fox, and I'm like, it's like super zoomed in and really cropped, and I'm like, okay, I've got the quarterback. Like, I can see the quarterback and half the offensive line, but I don't know what coverage they're running downfield. It's not as fun for me. And I think I've been doing recently, actually, because I don't just want to watch film. I actually do enjoy being a fan and watching football. So like I've got 2 monitors in front of me. On my left, I'll have like the game, the TV copy of the game, and on the right, I'll have the film of the game. And so when I'll watch the game and then follow along on film, and then when they cut to the replays, I just watch it back on film and I look at the coverage they were running, and so I get the joy of enjoying the sport I love with the broadcasters and that part of it. But then I get to watch the film and have that. So I create my own Prime Vision type setting. It takes way longer to watch games that way. It's not convenient, and film doesn't come out till Tuesday or Wednesday. But like later in the week, when I watch games later in the week, I get to do that, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I really, really enjoy that. And I basically create my own conditions for watching games on Prime Vision, and it's just amazing. So Prime Vision's incredible. I don't know why, Fox Sports, CBS, ESPN, I don't know why they feel they need to zoom the camera in so much and not show us the coverage pre-snap. I would like to see that happen. I'd like that to be standard practice. I would love to have more educated football fans generally who know coverages, and broadcasters who clearly speak about coverages and educate people and teach football. I think we're getting there, but producers in the sports world don't trust that a regular casual football fan can handle being talked to about football in a nuanced way where you educate them on coverages and educate them on the little nuances of football, and we get this dumbed-down version. And for me, it's ridiculously annoying because I want to see the coverages pre-snap. I maybe not everyone, but I definitely know pre-snap. When I look at a coverage in the NFL, I go, I know what they're doing pre-snap, or at least I have an idea of what the coverage is going to be. Then when the ball is snapped, based on where defenders go, I can confirm what I see, and I just get to play quarterback from my little office, and it's amazing. And I wish more of that was allowed. I want to see more TV copies of games that are zoomed out and show all 22 players on the field at the same time, so you can read a coverage pre-snap the way a quarterback would. Jared writes in. Jared says, Zach, is it time to stop pretending the Bills are anything but underachievers? They get so much spotlight for being just above average every year. Josh Allen is great sometimes. They can put up huge points sometimes, and their defense can win them games sometimes. I'm so tired of seeing them on top 5 lists when they're constantly getting beaten in the playoffs by teams with better coaching and better personnel. The Bengals massacred them last year, but this year they're supposed to be better? I don't see it. The last 2 years, they've been complete frauds. Jared, I'm going to push back a little bit. I would not call the Buffalo Bills frauds. That feels that's a step too far for me. I don't agree with that. But the Buffalo Bills are not Super Bowl favorites either. They're going to be a playoff team. They're 5-3. But here's what the Bills do not have. They do not have one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's not a top tier coach in football. He's a good coach. Nothing against him. But they don't have one of the best coaches in football. Their quarterback, Josh Allen is special, man. Like, I really want to be clear. Josh Allen, you got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football ever. Like, literally ever to walk the planet of the earth. No one even comes close. However, there are 2 guys in the NFL who can make a lot of plays that remind me of Patrick Mahomes. It's Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Their ability to run around, extend plays, make plays outside of the pocket, keep plays alive so they can throw the ball downfield. They make a couple plays a game that I go, that's Mahomes-esque, right? They're the closest thing we have to Patrick Mahomes is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. For different reasons. They've got slightly different skill sets, but they're the closest guys to what Mahomes can do. However, the Josh Allen thing, his problem is he kind of makes boneheaded mistakes from time to time. He's kind of like Brett Favre. He'll have a game where he throws 4 interceptions and loses week 1 to the Jets, and you're like, dude, what the heck? What? You can't throw 4 terrible interceptions week 1 to the Jets, dude. You can't do that. That's Josh Allen's hang-up, right? They're 5-3. They should be 6-2 in Buffalo. That Jets game is unforgivable. Like, those are the moments where you go, there are limitations in Buffalo. They're not frauds. They're a good football team. Here's what I would say. Actually, let me read a different question. We'll get to that in a moment. First of all, Davis writes in, no, let's go to Lucas, actually. Lucas says, hey, Zach, how are you feeling about the NFL season so far? I feel like there hasn't been a dominant team that looks infallible, and that's exciting. Even the team with the top records have a bunch of question marks. Has anyone set themselves apart as favorites in your eyes? Here's what I want to do. We talked about the Buffalo Bills. You're asking about all the favorites in my eyes. You spell favorites with a U because you're clearly British and wrong. I love you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a couple tiers of the best teams in football. So the Super Bowl favorites, the top tier in football, you've got Kansas City, Philly, Miami, and the 49ers. So those are the best 4 teams in football, in my opinion. Then you got the 2 teams right below them that are very close, but they've got one hiccup. I think these are potential Super Bowl favorites or Super Bowl teams. Cleveland is so dang good, but they don't have a quarterback, right? Deshaun Watson's been injured, and when he does play, he's been awful. But the Browns are like, man, if the Browns had Brock Purdy, right? Sam Darnold, Tua, Jalen Hurts, any quarterback who could stay on the field, probably the Browns would be a Super Bowl contender with Jimmy Garoppolo, like straight up. That's how good the Cleveland Browns roster is, but Deshaun Watson is a bum and ain't healthy, and when he is healthy, he's awful. But I think the Browns, if they can figure out the quarterback thing, are a potential Super Bowl team, right? They're that good, but they've got a fatal flaw right now so far, this far into the year. Then you got the Baltimore Ravens, another team that the Ravens have Super Bowl potential for sure. Did you watch them destroy the Lions this past weekend? It was like, whoa, okay. And their offense looked great. But I'm not going to look at one game and go, oh man, Baltimore, Super Bowl favorites immediately. No. If they consistently do that, then Baltimore should be a Super Bowl favorite up there with KC, Philly, Miami, and the 49ers. But because they've only had really that one incredible offensive performance all year, I'm not going to look at one thing and go, oh yeah, bump you up to the top. No. If they do that every week, definitely. But right now, because of that fatal concern, I've been waiting all year for them to pop, and they finally did. If they do that consistently, the Ravens are a Super Bowl team, in my opinion, for sure. Then you got a couple teams that I would call definitely a playoff team. Buffalo, right? Buffalo is really good. I don't know that they're a Super Bowl favorite or a contender. I think they're a team that's going to have a deep playoff run and probably fall short at some point. I would also put Dallas in that category, and I would put the Detroit Lions in that category. A really good team that's going to probably win a playoff game, do something interesting, make some noise, but then not win a Super Bowl. So, at the top, KC, Philly, Miami, and the 49ers. A tier below, Cleveland and Baltimore. Love both, but they've got a fatal thing that makes me concerned. Then a tier below them, definitely a playoff team. They're really good. I respect them. Buffalo, Dallas, and Detroit. And then one tier below them, I'm not sure what to call it yet. Maybe we'll call it a probable playoff team, something like that. I would say the tier below Dallas and Buffalo and Detroit is Seattle and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are both really good football teams, have good records. They're probably a playoff team. Especially Jacksonville is more likely a playoff team. They're probably going to win their division easily, but I don't feel like it's right to look at what we've seen from the Jaguars this year and say they're the same caliber team as Detroit and Buffalo and Dallas. But I would say the Jaguars are closer to Buffalo. Maybe that's... See, that we're splitting hairs here. I don't know. But frankly, that's a playoff picture in my mind. The playoff picture is going to be KC, Philly, Miami, the 49ers, Cleveland, Baltimore, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Jaguars, and Seattle. And then maybe Minnesota could make their way in there at some point. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. But I would say the Bills are like the third tier down of playoff teams, and they're very comfortably there. They're probably going to win a playoff game. They're going to make noise, but they're not going to win a Super Bowl. Davis writes in. Davis says, "Hey Zach, did you catch the Colts game? If so, what did you think of the Indiana Knights uniform combo? I liked them, but I've also been seeing the same jersey design since Peyton Manning was drafted. Also, the Colts got screwed. Did they?" Davis, you know how I feel, right? You cannot complain about the refs in a game where your team had 4 turnovers. I'm sorry. You gotta take care of your own mess before you point at someone else. And if your quarterback's gonna have 4 turnovers, you can't complain about losing. If Gardner Minshew has the same game he had without 4 turnovers, then I would go, yeah, the Colts got screwed. They did everything they could. But I just never will be the guy who blames other people before I focus on the things I could have done better. The Indiana Knights jerseys, man, I was underwhelmed, honestly. They were fine. They were kind of, given how stagnant their jerseys have been for years, I can understand appreciating the Indiana Knights jerseys, but like I'd love an all-black Colts jersey. I think that would be really cool. To be honest, my favorite Colts jersey, though, is just their throwback ones with like the stripes on the sleeves things and then the stripes on the socks. Like, I used to play as the Jacksonville Jaguars. No. I did that too, actually. I was the Jaguars for a long time in Madden when I played Madden. I played Madden 11 still because I'm weird. Then I ended up playing as the Houston Texans, but they were both in that same division. So I played Peyton Manning twice a year, every year, basically every Madden franchise I've ever had, ever. But you still get to pick the opponent's jersey combination. Every time I played the Colts, I would always switch the Colts to the throwback uniforms because it looks so much better. Whether I was playing as the Jaguars or Houston, because I learned you could play with Houston and have Andre Johnson and have Pat White as your quarterback and have this incredible offense. And it was glorious and fun. And I would always trade Owen Daniels, their old tight end, for Deshaun Jackson and then just put Deshaun Jackson at running back and then make, I'd throw swing passes to Deshaun Jackson all day. And I'd stretch the field with Andre Johnson, throw swing passes to Deshaun Jackson and just destroy everybody. But I played Peyton Manning twice a year, and I'd always switch the Colts to their throwback uniforms, which to me are the best Colts uniforms of all time. I love them. Final question of the day. Nathan says, "Hey, Zach, I just listened to your episode about you talking about the refs in Detroit and the Detroit game. If I recall correctly, you didn't get a chance to see the Rams-Steelers game." Oh, I cut off the rest of his question. What the heck? How did I do that? Give me one. Technical difficulties here. I got to find this question because it was good, and I know the gist of what he was going to say, but I want to make sure I read it. Nathan says, here we are. First thing, dang it was already pulled up, and then I hit a button, and I have to go find it again. Nathan says, because I'm an idiot. Come on. Nathan says, if I recall correctly, you didn't get a chance to see the Rams against the Steelers game. I haven't seen it either, but when you get a chance to watch it, I would love to hear your opinions on the last call of the game that gave the Steelers the win. To me, it seemed the Rams defense stepped up to help provide the Rams with a win, but the refs after them. I know you think a team should have stepped up early on in the game, but what are your opinions on when a team steps up, but they still get screwed? Yes, the Rams didn't have any challenges, but either way, there should be an ability to challenge a play like that. Thoughts? So what you're talking about, I imagine, is the pass interference call on Rams corner Ahkello Witherspoon against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where it was a bad call. There was a throw made to Deontay Johnson that was a little bit off target, where Deontay Johnson had to adjust. So like he's in the air, and then the ball is, instead of over here, it's over there, and his body like adjusts midair to the football. And his movement was so fast, it looked like the defender might have pulled him or ripped him, but the defender didn't do anything to compromise the path of or the trajectory of Deontay Johnson. Refs saw that jerky movement that Deontay Johnson made with his body. They throw a flag. It was a bad call. I mean, that was not pass interference. Ahkello Witherspoon played great coverage, and Deontay Johnson, it was like almost a flop, actually, like borderline same energy as an NFL, as an NBA flop, where you're like, he didn't touch him. How is that a flag? And so the Rams should have gotten the ball back with around 2 minutes left. That play happened. It should have been 4th and 8 with like 24 seconds before the 2-minute warning. Instead, it was given. They were given another opportunity on 3rd down, and then on 4th down, the Steelers got the 1st down. So it was all bad, man. It was kind of frustrating. And the Rams got a stop, and they got screwed over. So yeah, I agree with you. I hate talking about this stuff, man. It's uncomfortable and it sucks. But so you asked, I will say that call, my analysis on that call is that was exactly the wrong call, right? That should have been a stop. And clearly, Deontay Johnson was not interfered with. That wasn't pass interference on Deontay Johnson, straight up. So those are my thoughts. And yeah. By the way, I saw the NBA. People didn't like this, but the no flop call where it was kind of poorly. The procedure was poor. Where I was watching, it was the Knicks. I think it was the Knicks and the Celtics, where a couple players flopped, and then like 30 seconds later, they got called for technical fouls. But I think they'll smooth up that operation. But I'm not a huge NBA guy, but I'm so glad to see toughness returning to basketball. I hated the era we just got through in basketball with the flopping thing, where you're not tough, you're begging for calls. I preferred old school basketball, frankly, like the Michael Jordan era, where like you were tough. They were going to put hands on you, and it was physical, and that's okay. And I'm really glad to see the NBA kind of slowly getting rid of that crappy procedure of you get touched and you go, you flail away and try to look like you got hit or knocked around. I want to see toughness in basketball. And so I appreciate the changes the NBA is making to eliminate flopping. Hell yeah, I love that. And now we're seeing flopping almost to some degree in football, where receivers are getting touched a little bit, or even a defender comes near them and they go, and they adjust their body and it looks like PI and it's not. So I don't know, man. That's all I got today. I love you. Happy weekend. Football tomorrow. I know it's Saturday for you. I cannot wait for this weekend. What are the games again that I'm excited for? Let me just double check as I look at the schedule. Sunday Night Football will be interesting. You got Tyson Bagent. That'll be fun. You got Texans, Carolina. That's going to be 2 number 1 and number 2 overall quarterbacks. The Chiefs probably win their 17th game in a row against Denver. Will Sam Darnold play for the 49ers? Please, God, I want to see that. That would be hilarious and entertaining and interesting. Seattle, Cleveland's going to be a great game. The Cowboys got to beat the Rams. Can the Vikings start 4-4 and beat Green Bay? Desmond Ridder, if he does even a little bit okay, he's going to start 5-3 with Atlanta. The Saints should beat the Colts. I don't think they will. I have no idea. Can the Patriots offense look good? I hope so. Can the Ravens offense look good? I hope so. Can the Jets and Zach Wilson start 4-3 and beat Tyrod Taylor? I hope so. Jaguars Steelers, legitimately great potential like playoff game almost. That's a great atmosphere. Game in Pittsburgh. What a game, dude. Jaguars Steelers is going to be awesome. And there's one more game I know I care about. Oh, Monday Night Football. We get to watch the Lions and celebrate them as they, I'm calling it now, as they destroy the Las Vegas Raiders at Ford Field in Detroit. Can't wait, man. I'm calling it now, but I'm not calling it because I'm smart. I'm calling it because I want it to happen. I want to be able to talk about the Lions after Monday night and go, yeah, look at the Lions. They're so good. They're 6-2 and amazing. If they lose to the Raiders, I'm going to be sad. This Monday, I am going to be openly and actively a Lions fan, rooting very hard for the Lions to win. I want that. I'm rooting for that. Let's hope that happens. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. And yeah, that's all I got. So, bam, we are done.